Hi there, it's Nicole here today for Simon Says Stamp, and today I am sharing this ornate background card. This is a gorgeous background stamp from Simon Says Stamp. It was released for STAMPtember, and it's beautiful. It's ornate, just like it's called. And then I'm going to use greetings from the You Got This stamp set, which is a fantastic encouragement type of stamp set with lots and lots of greetings. Just really fantastic. I can't say enough great things about this. This is one of my, or two of my favorite products from the STAMPtember release. Now that we're about a month away from that release and things have calmed down just a little bit, I thought it would be great to share some ideas for using products you may have picked up for STAMPtember. So I am stamping this ornate background on some Bristol Smooth cardstock using Versamark ink. So it's really hard to see that I stamped that pattern there on the cardstock. Then I am going to take Simon Says Stamp clear embossing powder. You could also use white if you wanted to. And I'm going to start applying this all over the background. And as I'm holding it at an angle, you can see that design really takes shape. So amazing. I think this would be incredible colored. It looks like those coloring book pages that have been so popular. I think this would be amazing. Watercolored, colored with Copics, colored with whatever you like. I think this is just a gorgeous background. I'm really looking forward to trying some other ideas with this. I'm going to heat set my clear embossing powder then, and I'm just going to keep moving my heat tool around. The clear embossing powder, I think, really disappears as I'm heating this, and it's hard to see the design. Sometimes with white, I think you can still see it a little bit. Clear embossing powder is going to allow you to see the color of cardstock underneath the inking. We're going to do embossed resist for this. For this, it doesn't matter which color you want to use. I don't know, I just felt like using clear, I guess, today. I am going to grab my Distress inks and my foam ink blending tools and start applying the ink. And I'm kind of doing little circles today. Instead of doing kind of an ombre effect or whatever, I am applying the ink in circles. And I purposely tried to pick kind of fallish type of colors. I am using Abandoned Coral, Spiced Marmalade, Wild Honey, Peeled Paint, and Faded Jeans. Kind of a different combination of inks for me, I think. And I really like how they look together. As I'm applying this, it looks really sloppy and not very neat, but if you keep working those inks into one another and work to get kind of a seamless transition from one color to another, I think it's really fun, neat technique. And I'm going to just add a couple more colors. I want this entire panel to be colored with ink. Now I'm just getting around to sharing this card. You may have seen it. Simon Says Stamp shared it during STAMPtember in some of their Facebook Live videos. So if you saw it there, I thought it was time to share a step-by-step on how to create it. I'm going to take a dry paper towel then and buff any ink that might be sitting on top of that clear embossing off so you can see that fantastic white detail. Now I'm going to trim down my panel. This might seem kind of funny, and really I could have left this a solid panel. I had a little bit of a different idea for this to begin with. I am going to use all of the pieces. What I want to do is stamp my greeting on a piece of vellum and overlay it over this background. I still want the background to be visible, I guess, if that makes sense. What I wish I would have done is just cut a strip of vellum and add my gilding flakes to that strip. But what I'm going to do here is, that might make a little bit more sense in a second. I'm going to apply 1/8 inch score tape to the top and bottom edges of these two panels. So kind of where they meet, where I'm going to have this vellum piece. Originally, I was going to pop these two panels up with foam tape. That's why I cut them apart. I kind of decided I didn't like that as much, and I'll show you that in just a second. So let's go ahead and apply the gold gilding flakes. I love the gold gilding flakes. I think they are amazing. They add amazing detail, but yet are still super flat. Easy to apply. You can just apply them with your finger here. I love them with score tape borders, no matter what width you're using, because they just add a fantastic decorative border that's different looking than a gold embossed border or a gold ink or anything like that. They just give a completely different look. So I apply them with my finger, rub off the excess, and then to really clean that up, I take a ink blending brush, a blender brush, and really rub all of that off. I want any of that excess off so that they are nice and flat and that gilding really shows up. You can definitely see the detail, and I had gilding flakes kind of sticking to a couple little areas, and I just scratched them off with my fingernail. So there is my panel with those awesome gilded borders. To clean up the mess, I like to use Swiffer cloths. They attract the gilding flakes, or the gilding flakes are attracted to them, and it makes it really quick and easy to clean up. So here is my two borders, and again, I had a couple of gilding flakes kind of attach themselves to some of the embossing, and I scratched those off because the embossing is not sticky, so they definitely need to come off, and they come off easily. On a white side fold card base now, I am going to grab my panels and just lay everything out, see if it's all working. That little area in between is where I want to stamp my sentiment from the You Got This stamp set. And really, it would look amazing stamped right there on that strip without anything behind it. But I really didn't want to lose that really pretty look. So I think my original thought was to not use that strip at all, and I decided to. So I'm going to use a piece of vellum to help mute the background, but still make that greeting really easy to read. And this is a scrap that I had laying around. I'm going to use a powder tool on it first to kind of help keep those embossing powder flakes from sticking anywhere that I don't want them. Ink up my greeting and stamp this right on that vellum strip. Instead of embossing this with a white, I'm going to emboss this with a Simon Says stamp gold embossing powder to really kind of match the feel of the gilding flake borders. I will heat set this. Stamping and a greeting and embossing on vellum is one of my very favorite looks. I think it instantly adds an elegant, amazing feel to any card design. Plus, you can overlay it over something that's a little busy, like this background, and it's still legible, it still looks great, and it's just one of my favorite things to do. So I'm going to have to kind of piece this all back together now. This is where I was talking about, I wish I would have just trimmed this vellum strip and overlaid it over the entire inked background and added strips of score tape to the vellum, added the gilding flakes to the vellum, and then taken this to the card. You would get the exact same look. It was just one of those things where my original plan for the card didn't really line up with how the card actually came together. So this is my way of saving the card design without having to start all over, especially after you've done all the work, you've inked the background, you have spent all this time putting it together, and you want it to be look right, and you don't want to have to spend a lot of time redoing it. So if you want to do something similar, that's what I would recommend. However, if you wanted to pop up these two panels, which was something I thought I might do and then I changed my mind, you would definitely want to cut it apart like I did here, because you can't put the foam adhesive really underneath the vellum. But you could have the greeting strip flat to the card and have that top and bottom panel popped up with foam adhesive. I love that look as well. Anything that is slightly overlaying the edges of the card, I'm taking some scissors and trimming up. And now I'm going to add some detail. And On camera, this does not translate very well, but in real life, it had some fantastic glittery effects. This is a Stardust glitter pen that I am taking and just kind of coloring in some of the small areas in the background, and it adds a fantastic glittery look and feel. Helps dress up the background, adds some awesome interest. It really doesn't change the color of the ink underneath. Instead, it just makes it sparkly. You could use a Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen if you wanted to as well. Either one would give you kind of a similar look. I like this pen. It's kind of small, and I was really concentrating on the smaller areas. The brush tip pen would work fine as well. This just worked better for me for this particular card. So I'm going to color in all these little areas, give it a little bit of sparkle, and then I want to add some finishing touches. And when it comes to the finishing touches, I wanted them to be pretty minimal. I didn't want them to be a whole lot. The background really is the star of the show for this card. And I wanted my accents to match perfectly. So I decided to create my own gilded die cut shapes. This is just a piece of cardstock adhered to Stick-It adhesive, and the Stick-It adhesive is going to attract this, or it's going to have that gold gilding flakes will attach to them, just like the score tape. And I just did a small area. I didn't peel up all the backing paper, because that way I could, if I want to do some other colors, I could do that with the rest of this. And I'm taking one of my most used dies from Simon Says Stamp. I've had it forever, the mini hearts, and I'm going to die cut the mini hearts from these gold gilded cardstock. And it's going to give me little die cut heart pieces that the gold gilding perfectly matches my border. I love doing things like this. I'm not going to use all the hearts. I do save all of mine in a little container because you can use them for other projects later on. I just did not cut apart my hearts. So I typically will cut all of them or die cut all of them at the same time. To pop these out, since they stuck in there, I'm just going to use a piercing tool, and then I will attach these hearts to my card, and I'm going to mix them with some of the Simon Says Stamp Chameleon sequins. Scatter those throughout the design. I love this sequin mix. I think it's a fun one. But those hearts just look fantastic. They coordinate perfectly. They're a nice small embellishment. One of my favorite ways to dress up a card. So there's my little trio of hearts. I generally try to go in groups of 3. I like an off or a odd number. I did pop out some more. See if I thought I might use some. We'll see. And then I will add the sequins, and that will finish off my card design. Thanks for joining me today for this ornate background card featuring Simon Says stamps and dies. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Simon Says stamps and dies you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.